7th at 7 o'clock, get to know the new Riverworks Art Center, which I think is currently at Alden Farms, and I think we all know he's looking for a new home. Also, the Poolsville Seniors Club is having a NOAA, that's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Oh yeah, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, to get to know regulating outer space. I'm not sure how that works. Should be very interesting. Bingo is back from the Poolsville Senior Center, July the 19th, from 1 o'clock until 3. Live in-person bingo. That's pretty cool that things are returning. Also, gentleman Kenny Scholes is having a historic ag reserve properties lecture, and this is also, all these things are very interesting. He's just like an encyclopedia of knowledge. And the Poolsville Senior Center is hiring, or they're having an ad out to hire a new executive director. And that's what I had.
Okay, Jeff, thanks for that. As far as my announcements go, yes, there were 4 of us. Everybody but Barton, we missed you, man, at MML, the Maryland Municipal League Annual Convention in Ocean City, which was last week. Seems like forever ago already. Actually, it was great to have the show back. Not as many people there as you would expect. I guess it's all still in recovery, but the classes were full, and the amount of vendors there was fantastic. So I got a lot of vendor information. I met with, and I'm sure the people that were here that went to it all met with those guys as well. These are all of our traditional people that we work with, including, for the most part, right off the bat, Arrow. I guess they're consulting the people that did our streetscape plan. So I've actually arranged for Wade and I to meet with the folks from Arrow in one way, shape, or form. We haven't decided how we're going to do it yet, just to have them review the streetscape plan since it was last done several years ago, to see if there's something new and innovative that we might be missing in terms of adding it to the streetscape plan. So, and then there was a bunch of other vendors there, including a lively and entertaining conversation with the folks from Bates Hauling. So that's always interesting when we see them there. They're unbelievably accommodating when you're actually meeting with them. So there was a lot. You'd be surprised. Up and down each aisle, there were many vendors that do business with the town of Poolsville. I was able to meet with most of them. I'm sure you guys did too at one point or another. So very fruitful MML meeting. The Montgomery chapter dinner was not really well attended, so it was still good. The food was damn good, but it was not very well attended. And it was a good meeting, but reminds me of years past when it was a lot better than what it was this time. So that could have been better. That was kind of the culminating event for that night. And we'll have some other stuff that I'll be hitting in fair access. So those are the big announcements for now. Okay.
Can I add one thing?
Sure, go for it.
Regarding the vendors the exhibitors at the MML conference, I brought a stack of information home for you, Wade, and I left it at home. It was Ed and I were looking at a number of the exhibitors that had playground equipment, and it really looked kind of keen, kind of neat. So anyway, I grabbed their brochures and several others, and so I'll either deliver it to you and you can deliver it to the circular retainer, or I'll leave that up to you. Thanks.
Okay, any other announcements from the commissioners? None? Committee reports. Carrie, you have something for us from events?
I just wanted to say congrats to Kathy Bupp and the whole events committee for the last several events that we've had, all very well attended and really a success. Spring Fest, of course. The last event, Bark in the Park, and then Red, White, and Brews. So congrats to them. I know a lot of planning goes into that. For July, there's 2 Fridays on the Commons. On the 15th is Wet, Wacky, and Wild, and there's going to be a movie at the end of the night. And then on the 29th is Wine Down in the Park. WINE. There you go.
Extension of Bark in the Park. Okay. Very good. Anything else, Carrie? Okay, thank you for that. Martin, can you tell us about the Planning Commission?
Yeah, we met last week and we discussed a food truck ordinance, which was a very lively discussion, and I think Wade got some good input. Nothing was decided, but it's more complicated than I would have thought it was. So anyway, Wade's going to go back and tease that a little bit, and we're going to revisit that. We briefly talked about the comprehensive plan, but the Wallace Montgomery wasn't totally prepared to they were having technology issues, so we couldn't see what they had for us. That'll be next month. And then the Willard project was again presented, and I guess it was the concept plan. Is that right? Preliminary concept or preliminary? Their preliminary plan was approved, and that was that.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Yes, it was a good Planning Commission meeting. Go ahead, Ed. Fair access, sustainable Poolsville.
All right, I'll let you take care of the fair access, but Sustainable Poolsville, we don't have anything right now since the last meeting. And then we'll go and talk. They're on the agenda for today, but we'll get to that. All right. That's it, yeah.
Very good. Jeff, I'll go to you for Parks, Recreation, and Streets.
Well, it'll be quite short. We had our walkabout scheduled on June the 8th, and it's kind of tricky to get everybody scheduled, but then June the 8th, there was a rain out, a downpour on June the 8th, so we didn't do our walkabout. And the whole idea is to go actually physically visit the locations for the street humps and the crosswalks and whatnot. So that didn't happen. So the Parks and Streets committee president is trying to get, herding the cats to set another date. So we didn't do our meeting, and we're going to reschedule it. That's it. Thanks.
Heck of a downpour that night. Okay, fair access. Our biggie is that we have another forum coming up on this Thursday. Hopefully it's all hands on deck. Anybody wants to show up. I think it's going to be probably the most lively forum that we've had. It'll feature 6 of the at-large candidates for county council, of which 4 will be elected. So it's, you can look at it that you're either picking 4 or not picking 2 coming up. And we'll give you a chance to have all of the candidates kind of air it out. That'll be this Thursday night at Town Hall at 6 o'clock from 6 to 7:30. Link will be presiding again. Looking forward to, he's honed his game on the first 2 forums, and now it'll be forum number 3 for him to help us pick who's the right candidates and who's standing up for the up county. Link and I have had more conversations with folks involved with White's Ferry, and I can tell you, it just stays more frustrating. The more you do it, the more frustrated you get. We have basically called for, again, a meeting amongst our elected officials on our side, because it really feels like the Virginia side has thrown up their hands. So we'll be meeting with our guys to talk about some of the things we've learned in the conversations we've had with the Virginia owners, and we're looking to, again, move the ball. It's been a difficult ball to move, as everybody knows. So we'll be getting more, and I'll let you know when we'll have our meeting and the results of the meeting as well. But that is coming up. And last but not least, we're going to be meeting and setting some goals again for what's coming up. We know our biggies are to get the gym fully funded in stone, to build the gym the right way at Poolsville High School. Secondly, we're talking about community wellness center again, and staffing and programming, et cetera, that will go with that. Getting the bubble built over the pool will be another one that we're working on. And so the Fair Access has a full plate. We'll be working on that over the next few months to really get, not re-energize our strategy, but we were created to help get the high school built. So box hasn't been checked yet, so we still have more to do, obviously. And that's it for Fair Access.
Can I
Sure.
jump in on one thing? When you mentioned White's Ferry, there was a sad event at White's Ferry. At least I thought it was a rather sad event. If you remember driving down to, of course I haven't been to the ferry in quite a while, but you drive down to the ferry, and on the left-hand side is the old ferry.
Yeah.
Well, that happens to be on national park property, and there's a big machine that cut it into little pieces. So
Really?
it is demolished. It is cut into little pieces. There's a video showing the big machine going.
Wow.
It's, yeah, wow, it's right. I saw that, I go, wow, could you just move it?
Because that was like the spare air.
It's a gunner.
I haven't heard that. Have to go down and eyeball it. Instead of having White's Ferry Grill deliver the sandwiches, I need to go down and pick them up. Okay, it is sad regardless. You're right. Anybody else commentary from the commissioners? Any other announcements, committee reports? Public comment, we'll be getting to you for sure in a minute. Anybody else public comment? Anybody online? Wade? No. Nobody? Nothing? Nobody signed up? Okay, great. Approval of the minutes from June 6, 2022. I believe we were all here. So we need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from June 6, 2022.
Motion from Jeff,
I'll second.
second from Martin. Any questions or corrections on the minutes? None? All in favor of approving the minutes from June 6th, 2022, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Minutes have been approved 5-0. Thanks, everybody, for that. New business, appointments to Sustainable Poolsville Committee. Wade, if you want to lead us off.
Sure. So we put an ad out we needed a volunteer for a position as a Sustainable Poolsville Committee. We had 3 applications come in, sent them off to Don Street, and I believe the rest of the Sustainable Committee also took a look at them. All were great candidates. And I also put a memo together that kind of outlines what my discussion with what Don had, put forth of, can we just go ahead and appoint all 3 of them to bring our membership back up to 9, which it was originally. And so that's before you this evening to appoint all 3.
We don't have anything contrary to that in our, the creation of that committee.
Not at all. We looked it all up, and yeah, there's nothing contrary at all.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Okay, and everybody, this is in your package. It talks about what not just not the 3 volunteer applications, but that the Sustainable Committee has reviewed the applications and has made a recommendation to adopt, bring all 3 members on board of the Sustainable Committee. So, do we have a motion to do so? And we can have discussion prior to, or we can make a motion in a second, then have discussion?
So moved.
Moved by Martin to accept the 3 people onto the Sustainable Poolsville Committee. Second?
I second it.
Second from Ed. Any conversation about any of this now that we've gotten to this point?
I'll just say that when we did review the applicants, all 3 have really different strong skill sets, and so they would do I think they'll bring a lot of good energy to the team as well as diversity.
Yeah, good call on diversity. I think it's great. And I happen to know the members too, and I agree. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have everybody ready to have a vote on this? All those in favor of adding the 3 members as moved to the Sustainable Poolsville Committee? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Well, I have
Opposed?
a question.
Yep, okay.
I don't.
You're mid question. Your mid vote question.
So I didn't interview these 3, and I absolutely take Ed's statement there as perfectly no, but I don't know the 3 people, so I'm not quite sure if I should vote yes or just abstain. I don't want to vote no, certainly, but.
You can vote yes. There's no reason for you to abstain, especially if you're especially if you're
Okay, go
supporting
ahead. Yeah, good
supporting
point.
both the committee recommendation and Ed's
Yeah.
recommendation.
Then I vote yes, thank you, Martin.
Okay, that motion's been approved 5-0. Those 3 members, Soledad Aguilar, Krish Bala, and Marcus Roshchecker, have been added to the Sustainable Poolsville Committee. Thank you for the background, Wade, and Ed, thanks for your endorsement on that as well, and for making sure the committee's organized as well as it is. Zoning regulations. Chickens. Then there's a comma. Resident Elizabeth Carpenter, who's done a nice job of emailing the commissioners or some of us and talking about raising the chicken conversation in general. So if you would come up, introduce yourself, give us your address, and we look forward to hearing from you. And Wade will get you a little more set up too. No chair? Dang, how'd that happen? Oh, I think it's back here. And the microphone here.
I also have copies of my presentation. Can I hand them out?
Absolutely, bring them up
Oh,
here,
great,
sure.
Thank you.
We're missing Bailiff John Strong tonight, so you need to bring him up yourself.
And I have
Relax as it gets. Don't worry about it, okay? It's all good.
That's lovely.
You teach kids, you're in a safe space, trust me.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. All right.
Where'd you move from?
I moved from Los Angeles, California, but I'm originally from Maryland.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
where were you?
Los Angeles.
I was in Northridge. Do you know
Okay,
that area?
sure, yep.
Okay.
Very good.
I lived in Connecticut.
Yeah, I've kind of been all over the place.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you. So my name is Elizabeth Carpenter. I live at 17408 Hughes Road. So I'm going to just read this to you because I spent a lot of time writing it, and you can either read along or just listen and read later. I come before you as a new resident to Poolsville and native Marylander, and want you to know how much I appreciate living in such a charming community. The rural character, the agricultural reserve, and open spaces are what drew my husband and I to this town. We own a single-family home with a fenced backyard on Hughes Road. We share our home with our children, 3 dogs, 2 bunnies, and 4 chickens. I have been keeping chickens in Westport, Connecticut, Los Angeles, California, and in Maryland for over 12 years. Since 2010, keeping chickens has been an important part of my family life. I enjoy sharing this hobby with my children, who benefit from the education about where their food comes from, as well as the companionship offered by the hens we care for. Watering, feeding, and egg collecting are chores that my children manage while experiencing valuable life lessons in responsibility, circle of life, and compassion for animals. Unfortunately, we recently came to know that we are not allowed to keep our hens here in Poolsville due to zoning restrictions. This frustrated us because when we walk through our neighborhood, we see another home near our street with a backyard coop and hens. And when we went to Tractor Supply this spring, we noticed they were selling chicks and supplies. Naturally, we assumed that we too could start a small family of quiet hens, not roosters, in our yard. So we built and painted a beautiful coop, complete with flower window boxes, and brought home our 4 tiny chicks. Then we learned that keeping chickens is not allowed because they are considered to be in the category of livestock. I was also informed that previously residents were allowed to keep chickens until one resident was found to have hoarded hundreds of pigeons in their backyard, and the zoning was changed as a consequence for this one bad egg. I understand that this is an ongoing debate, and I'm inviting us to revisit the issue and present you with a compelling argument to persuade you to reconsider the zoning restriction. I'd like to share with you my thoughts as well as some facts written by Kathy Mormino, an attorney who successfully changed the law in her town of Suffield, Connecticut, after years of educating the community on why responsible chicken keeping should be allowed in her town. Regarding sustainability and animal welfare concerns, Kathy states, home-raised hens living in spacious, clean conditions produce eggs that are fresher, better tasting, and often more nutritious than their commercially farmed counterparts. Raising chickens also promotes the humane treatment of food-producing animals and a local sustainable food system. Chickens kept as pets provide companionship, entertainment, stress reduction, and comic relief. They are not livestock that are regulated to the soup pot when they are injured or stop laying eggs. Chickens have been selectively bred to cultivate domesticated behavior traits, as well as to provide a colorful egg basket. My hens have names and are loved for their fun, endearing personalities and interactions. My chickens provide emotional support during these challenging times, and pet chickens are routinely used as therapy animals for individuals with a wide array of emotional, physical, and other life challenges, as well as visitors to the elderly in hospitals and retirement homes. I'd also like to debunk the myth that chickens are dirty and smelly. Chickens spend their days dust bathing and meticulously preening themselves to maintain good hygiene. Chickens do not smell. Animal waste smells. When managed properly, no odors emanate from a yard in which a few chickens are kept. Chickens are green pets. They eat a wide variety of weeds and disease-carrying insects like ticks. Chickens produce nitrogen-rich waste that can be used as a natural garden fertilizer. Hens are not ordinarily noisy, and intermittent daytime noises are a normal part of living in any community. Any concerns about chicken noises should be addressed in the same manner other noise complaints are addressed, including barking dog noise. There's a lot of time, thought, love, and work put into this hobby. We take pride in our yards, our pets, and the food they produce. I believe we should encourage sensible regulation to allow our residents to keep a few hens as pets. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you. Yes, that's my daughter, and that's Lady Gaga on her lap in the swing. That was our favorite chicken. And Alicia and Asher are my stepchildren. They're on the last page, and that is our little egg basket. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, it's all yours. Go for it.
Oh, I was curious, do you suggest that a person be allowed to have like 100 chickens or 3, or do you have a number in mind? Is there,
Yeah, I do have a number in mind. I'm thinking, 4 would be a reasonable amount to feed a family. I'm not talking about, having 12 or 15 or 20 chickens.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a small, in other towns where I live, like Westport, you're allowed to have 4, and that would feed a typical family.
and another question I have was, because you live on Hughes Road, and of course I've been down Hughes Road a zillion times, and the homes are kind of bigger there, and the yards are definitely bigger. And I'm not exactly sure how to say this, but a lot of the residents in town have townhomes, right? And they're, of course, they're smaller.
Right.
And their backyards are smaller.
So in that case, I would say 2, for a smaller home, or it could be the same. Look, there are some breeds that are absolutely silent. They have been bred selectively to be very quiet. And 2 of them, it's the Buff Orpington and the Black Australorp. They don't lay the pretty green eggs, but they're quiet as chickens. You would never know that your neighbor next door was keeping chickens if you kept those 2 breeds.
We can
So,
also pass legislation if we decided to adopt it, that, you had to have a certain size yard to have chickens, or, however we wanted to
a
shape
lot of
that.
towns do that, yeah.
Isn't that what we already have in our code?
Chickens, there's no chickens allowed in the code.
Well, not in 2+ acre zoning, there is.
Right.
Right, other than that, regular residential, you're correct.
Yeah. So that's
But
what
yeah,
I
there's
mean.
many ways to differentiate it and determine, the correct number, and
So this isn't the first time that someone has proposed this, and you make a great case, and I keep coming back to one thing, and if we could solve that thing for me, I think I'd be open-minded to it. That is like, if somebody, I've been to homes where people don't clean out the chicken coop, the waste, and that's a problem. And we have sort of a passive enforcement here. It's like, but if we could find a way that if, somebody complains to you and you could send Skip out there, and like, it's sort of subjective, like, well, does it smell or does it not smell? But I mean, like, if that component could work out, and I imagine like it wouldn't be a problem, it'd rarely be a problem. I mean, people here generally are pretty tidy and stuff. But, if you could tell me that part of it like is doable, I'd certainly be open to it.
no, I think there's probably several components to it, how big a house can be, how close to the property line can a house be, how
Sure.
many chickens can you have, no roosters allowed. There's so many things, and they all fall into the enforcement once you go ahead and permit it, but you can
Right.
revoke a permit at any time. And Jay, you're on here, you can jump in too anytime you want. But I think it's, it's all how we
Well,
develop
and
it.
that's my thing, is enforcement is what I worry about. It's arduous but easy enough to write the regulations about like how,
Right.
all that stuff, property size and, all that, but.
Did you
I have another
receive a
question.
visit from Skip?
I did.
Okay, there you go.
Can I explain what happened? I was keeping a chicken, it was one of my nephew's chickens, that was clucking too loudly, and I was trying to find a new home for it because I knew it was gonna bother the neighbors, and we were petrified every morning when we heard it. And I guess Skip beat us to it, or the neighbor who complained anonymously beat us to it, but that chicken has been rehomed because it was just too loud to live in our neighborhood. We want to be a good neighbor, we want to keep quiet hens. So the 4 that we have are very quiet, and that's why we're keeping them.
Did you offer Skip a dozen eggs to,
I didn't offer him, but maybe I should have.
Well, actually, I had a question about that.
No?
I had a question about that, because I watched it was kind of crazy, it was on some TV channel, and I watched an elaborate show about chickens and egg laying. And, but the chickens are inoculated, and I don't know exactly when they're like
Yes,
chicks, when they're very small.
right.
So, does that mean that they're, because if you go to Harris Teeter and you buy eggs, they're I forget what it's called, but they go through some process so
Right.
salmonella is not there.
Right, right.
But home eggs, they don't have that process, do they?
I don't know. I do know that the four that I kept are inoculated chickens, because they're from a company called My Pet Chicken, which is based out of Connecticut. Tracy and Derek started this company for backyard chicken keepers, and they selectively breed chickens, for quality of personality and egg laying. And they inoculate all of their baby chicks.
And
So-
are you allowed to sell the eggs, or, I don't know how that works.
I don't, I wouldn't do, I mean, that's enough for our family and maybe our relatives who live in the area, but I wouldn't sell them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know outside of Poolsville, you can ride by a farm now and then and see, eggs available, or something like that. I guess that's a different story.
I can bring you
Yeah,
all
if-
eggs if you want.
If you were putting a sign saying eggs for sale in
Yeah.
the town limits, you'd have to get permits for that.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Whole different ballgame, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back, because we're kind of moving a lot of different directions. Perhaps if we would look at, Wade, if we look at what was that reason why it was removed, and then go back and revisit what can be put in place that would counter the reason that it was moved. And it sounds like, if I'm hearing you right, because it was maybe an unlimited number, or people had a whole bunch of chickens and got some pigeons, if I'm hearing you correctly. So I think that,
That's what I heard.
yeah.
Sort of, there was a big thing in late 80s, early 90s about
Okay.
a pigeon guy. But really, to sort of look at the process to be here. If you guys are interested in passing this down, the planning commission is actually the one that should do the legwork on this, develop recommendations with the parameters we're talking about, and then send it back to you to be adopted or not. So it's up to you guys if you want to send it down to the planning commission to allow them to work through this.
So do we need a motion to do that, or?
Jay, do they need a motion for that?
No, you just need to express interest because we're going to be spending some time and money on figuring it out. So, a consensus will work if there's, most of you are interested.
Yeah, I'm interested. You can come up with a fair process, something that's fair for the homeowner, and then also look at what would be fair regulation for other folks who want to have chickens. So let the planning commission put something together, bring it back to us so we can make a decision. That's where I stand.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Would you be willing to come to a planning commission meeting and answer some questions and just sort of help us through that there?
I would be happy to.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And the chickens that you have, do they just run around and fly around? I mean,
No,
can
no.
they get into the next neighbor's yard or something?
No, okay, so one, we have a fully, we have a privacy fence around our backyard. They are contained within a coop and a very nice run. They have plenty of space to roam around, but they're not allowed to free range in the backyard. And the reason is because of our dogs. you
Is
know,
what?
Our dogs.
Oh,
I wouldn't
yeah.
want there to be a
Okay.
conflict of interest there.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that might be an important element in
Yeah,
whatever the
absolutely.
restrictions that the planning commission might come up with.
Right, we don't want chickens running up and down the road, that would be a problem. Yeah, true.
I don't have any either. So if the consensus is that we'll push this to the planning commission for further discussion, that's fine by me. We have that consensus? Sounds like it.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Very
Wait,
good.
when you put this on the agenda, will you circulate this? Do you mind? Okay. And then I wonder, since we've been down this road before with the planning commission, like, is there a way that this time we can either approve it or take it off the table for a period of time so we don't keep coming back to it?
It's been a couple years.
Yeah, I don't think you really take it off the table, and Jake won't weigh in, but once the different commission body can come in here and say,
Yeah.
let's take a look at it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there's nothing to prevent it being redone every time you have a new commission, so.
I guess this board doesn't have to forward it to the planning commission every single time if we lose
Right, you're
an
going to be the
appetite for
ultimate
it.
say. You ultimately have to pass the zoning law. So let's say you all said, there's no way we're doing this. Then you don't need to go through the process because you're not going to vote for it at the end. But what I'm hearing is you might want to do this. So you want to figure out the details so you have something to judge at the end. So that's why you have to send it through the process to get.
Just out of curiosity, Jay, you work with a bunch of municipalities. Where do they all fall on this? Like, do most of them allow chickens?
It's a wide range. Some of them are adamantly against it, and they treat it like livestock under zoning, like you guys do, because that's the old school method, and they don't allow it. And then a lot of the municipalities do allow it, but they regulate it under zoning, and then they regulate it further under their code as far as like, I don't want to say a permit, but it's a regulation where they can go in and say how many you can have and how the hutches have to be and how the distances have to be and things like that. So,
And in those cases, is it successful? I mean, does it seem to work out?
Yeah, usually there has to be some kind of mini, I don't want to call it a site plan because it's not like you normally have a site plan, but it has to be like a mini understanding, and the lots have to be a certain size because you don't want to impact the neighbors and things like that. And then there's the question you guys asked about like selling the eggs and stuff. They're very adamant. Most places do not want any kind of commercial activity. So if this becomes commercial and then you have people showing up, or even if it's just like driving by, they say that's not what residential is for. So most of them, prohibit that. And then they obviously prohibit the number of chickens so that there's not enough eggs that you could sell even if you wanted to, type of thing.
All right, thanks.
Do they also restrict roosters?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really dealt with that, but I think so. I mean, I think because that gets into an animal husbandry issue. If you're going to have roosters fertilizing the eggs, they're not for your consumption. They're not for that point. They're for actually raising chickens. And if you're actually raising chickens, that's different. This was akin to like having a backyard garden, except with animals.
Thanks, Jay. So we have a recommendation. Does anybody else further discussion on it? Carrie?
I just wanted to ask Wade, have we ever done a, have we ever surveyed residents on this topic?
Not to my knowledge.
I'm just curious. Thanks.
You know that there's a lot of people, I won't say a lot of people, but there's a certain amount of people in Poolsville that already have chickens, and it's kind of been like a little bit of a don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. And, so it might make sense to codify whichever direction we want to go in. Which,
Right, because it's codified obviously in one way already, but
Right, but I
we
mean,
only do it on a
like,
complaint basis.
right, yeah. Yep.
And Wade, would it be required that a person had a permit to have chickens in their backyard?
That's what we have to discuss.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Commission is actually pretty well versed in this, the members that have dealt with it in the past. And so I'm sure there'll be both discussion about where they've been, why they decided what they decided already that the commissioners also agreed with. And also too, if there's been a change of heart in a different direction maybe, and some other municipalities that have done their own further due diligence, seen how it's worked out. So they'll put that together for us. So.
Do you mind sending me an email offline, so we can chat about this?
Of course,
You can get it through the Poolsville website.
sure.
So I have some suggestions for you before you come.
Oh, thank you, that would be
Yeah,
very helpful.
sure. No,
Carrie,
no
anything
problem.
else?
Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
Anything else from the commissioners? We have a recommendation. We're moving forward with that to putting in the hands of the planning commission, and just keep in touch with Wade about the agendas on the planning commission. I'm sure they'll give you plenty of notice when they'll want you to come in and say hi.
Okay, thank you very much. for your
Good.
time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for being here.
It was
Yep,
nice
thank
meeting you all.
Yep.
And have a good evening.
All right, very good. So we've got a direction on that. Old business. Ordinance number 220, accessory structures. Wade, you can lead us off, but as you guys know, this was something that we moved forward with a public hearing, and I'm thinking Wade's going to tell us it's time to vote on it.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, we did have June 6th, we had a public hearing on this. Nobody spoke in regards to it at all. And it's a very simple ordinance. It just combines square footage allowable into one building rather than two, same square footage per lot, so it doesn't really change anything as far as impervious areas or anything. And tonight, it's before you to be adopted.
Can you just remind us what brought this on? I just can't remember.
So this is since the early 80s, the planning commission used to approve all the permits. So somebody would have a shed, you could have two sheds on your property, and LSUs, each could be 300 square foot, or you could combine them and use 600 square foot. That was always been the practice. After I left, everybody forgot what the practice was. And so there are a lot of special exceptions had to occur, and it was kind of onerous for the residents, and they really weren't changing the square footage of anything, just having, one building instead of two buildings, that are actually more aesthetically pleasing to have one building than two.
Right, best use of the property and less onerous. Very good. Does anybody else have any questions on this? It's, again, it's ordinance number 220, accessory structures. We've already treated it as old business. It's already been, the ordinance itself was written by, or rewritten through Jay. Did it come through our planning commission or board of zoning appeals at all? Right, okay, you guys have already had it too? So, and now we're here to put that ordinance to a vote. It's been in your package. It's ordinance number 220. It was introduced May 2nd, 2022.
So I make
And,
a motion, we
thank you. I'm good.
approve ordinance number 220.
All right, I'll second this motion.
Okay, we've got a motion from Martin for the approval of ordinance number 220, which is accessory structures, and we have a second by Ed. Are there any other questions, commentary? None? All those in favor of approving ordinance number 220, accessory structures, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Okay, that now ordinance has been approved. 5-0. Thanks, everybody, for your due diligence and for listening in on all the process. Town manager's report?
Okay, a couple things here. The ad for the assistant manager will go out later this week. I've also been in contact with the hiring committee that we used last time, and everybody except one individual will be coming back. And we're planning on meeting probably the last week in July or 1st of August. We've not nailed it down exactly, but that'll be the time frame that applications should be in, and we should be going through the process, or beginning to go through the process.
Wait, do you want another person on that committee?
Oh, we certainly could?
Is Julian Singh on there, or his wife Beth Singh?
No.
Because they're both HR people, and I talked to both of them. I talked to Beth at least, and she seemed interested.
If everybody's fine with that.
Didn't we talk about Julian doing it before?
Yeah, we did. I don't know if they both should be on it, if that's appropriate, but they're both super smart, good people.
Yeah, we lost one, so we could replace the one. It gives us even 5,
So do we want to?
or odd 5.
Have Wade
I'll
reach out.
Does he have yeah, I'll get all of it.
This is an informal committee, so we don't have to, there's no approving or having to not approve.
Email addresses, let me know offline, Wade, and I'll forward them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it would be great to have 5 members back on that committee. So, thank you for that, Wade. We'll look forward to that ad coming out.
Yep.
We appreciate it. Keep going.
Okay, next thing, July 5th, we're supposed to meet. Tentatively, we're going to go cancel that. We don't have really anything on the agenda right now. If something comes up, we'll go ahead and reschedule, but right now, we're looking at not meeting on the 5th. I have an appointment with an IT professional that Jay turned me on to that does meeting spaces. And just to take a look at our gear that's kind of been since 2008, it's been mismatched, and the audio's not good, and doesn't match up with everything, so, and I'm fighting it all the time. So, exactly, so, we're gonna get him in here, probably sometime in July. He's gonna give us a rundown of what is typical and what's used everywhere else, and see if we can improve things, definitely. And then, for the water and wastewater department, they borrowed a smoke machine from Maryland Rural Water Association, and they're gonna be doing smoke testing on the gravity lines that go all through the woods over to Cattail and down to the Jerusalem-Jonesville line. So it's good to get out there and just try enough now that we can actually facilitate smoking, see if there's any cracks in the pipes, any manholes leaking. Those areas tend to kind of flood during really wet times, so it's important to get out there and check those. So we'll be doing that. You won't see them most likely, but just let you know what that's going on. That's all I have. Any questions?
Yeah, where do we stand on the playground? Is that
So the last thing, we've got a quote to replace it, and we paid for the cleanup, obviously. We submitted those bills and also for the safety fencing that's around it now. So all that's too legit. All the thing we're waiting right now is for the fire marshal report, and we called again today. We had to send in through snail mail, a check for $25 to get the copy of the report. And then we called today just to verify, where is this? They said, well, they're still chasing some leads because there was some other issues that the youths that were involved are now telling on each other. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and the report's growing. So I don't have reports yet, but either way, legit has everything else that we could submit in right now.
and any more news on the old Methodist church and any of that process?
Waiting for that final survey to come back with the easements and everything on it, which hopefully by next week we will have, and then it's going to go out.
Great.
That's all I'm waiting on. It's good to go, except for that.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Wade? That's it? Okay, can we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Ah, look, you didn't say it fast enough.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Wait a second.
Somebody cut his mic.
Yes, right. Well, there's 4 seconds in the motion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have 2 things I want to mention. They're both very important. I'm happy to say that the Poolsville camp counselors, there were 12 of them, are now CPR, first aid, and AED trained by yours truly, CPR instructor from Upper Montgomery County Volunteer Fire Station. So that took place on June the 17th, right here. Worked out well. And the second thing is, not chickens, fireworks. So the fireworks event is on July the 4th, which is July the 4th, and it's a Monday, and it will be over at the soccer fields on Hughes and Partnership, same location as in previous years. And we have 10 food trucks lined up. We have probably the best fireworks show that is specifically designed for Poolsville and the property and the location that is. And also, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I'm going to tell you there's going to be a big surprise at the fireworks show. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's only going to be visible if you're at the location. So I strongly recommend you bring your camera. And yeah, so it'll be wonderful. The the Jeff Carmella Band is playing the music, and I think the Jeff Carmella Band starts playing at 6:30 or 7. I forget what the contract says. And we have 7 Montgomery County police officers who are going to be on duty, and one of their primary tasks is to shoo away the cars that always attempt to park on Hughes Road next to the white fence, and that happens to be private property owned by the gentleman that allows us to use the fireworks area. And I know in previous years, he has spent a lot of his own money to repair that area. And last year, we hired more Montgomery County police specifically to chase cars away from Hughes Road along the white fence. And he emailed me that very night, I think it was midnight or something, and said, great job. The police kept all the people off of that area there, so there was no damage done. So, you know, knock on wood, we have no damage done this year. Yeah, so everything is going along. We've received the permit from the state of Maryland, and we today received the permit from the state of Montgomery. So we are in good shape. Any questions about that? Nope. Martin?
Excited.
Martin?
No, you're going to ask
Motion
the
we adjourn.
surprise? Well, got it in. Motion, second from Ed. Anybody else? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.